Okay, guys, this is a recording of my Tacview from last night. This was recorded, I believe, what's the date on this? The 29th, December 29th, 2023. So I'm in my P51, and Firebugs is in his Mosquito. He's going to attack lignaroles, and I'm giving him high escort cover. So as we're flying in that direction, I spotted two 109s that were clearly, I could tell by the way they were flying in a two-ship, players coming my way at roughly the same altitude as me, if not a little higher. Um, I know that Gasman and Taipan like to take off from Avranches and attack Lissay, so I assumed that's who they were. And, they're pretty good and aggressive players, so I didn't want to fight them two versus one. So what I did was I alerted everybody over the radio. Bishop was coming up, and there were a whole bunch of allies. There were a bunch of allies in a three-ship over here near Lignaroles. So I stayed in communication with everybody, and I let them know what was happening. But at the same time, I approached Gasman and Taipan. I wasn't sure it was them, but I was pretty sure it was them. Head on, because I didn't want to give them any advantage, and I was hoping perhaps they didn't see me, but I figured that was unlikely. So what I did was I climbed so that I had an altitude advantage over them on the merge, and that I could convert into speed advantage if I had to. And so that, so far so good, although it was looking pretty scary because they definitely did see me, and they started to go into position on the merge. So at this point, I'm pretty much by myself because Bishop is way down low, and these guys were having trouble understanding where I was. I was giving them directions, but there was some confusion. So I decide to aggressively go into the merge with the idea that unless they make some sort of basic fighter maneuver mistake, I'm just going to try to rope-a-dope them into a trap. That was my plan. So they did a good job of splitting, one on one side of me, one on the other. So no matter who I went for, I'd have somebody on my six. It was very smart of them. It's actually a pretty classic looking merge here on their part. By the looks of this, I'm in trouble. But I had a plan, and that was to kind of lure them into what I like to call, there's a real word for this maneuver, and I forgot what it's called, but it's basically you're trying to bring them into a spiral. I'm not exactly doing it textbook, but I'm trying to disarm the one in front of me, one behind me, and get them both on the same plane, and also stay in front of them and hopefully get them to overspeed or just make some sort of mistake while I run. I like to call my P51 my run stang, because it's very, very good at that. Because it has a lot of elevator authority compared to the 109s, and it's a much more stable aircraft at very high speeds. So far so good. I mean, in the sense that sticking to my plan, but I'm definitely in trouble. So they're taking the bait, and that's basically what I am at this point, is bait, as I holler and scream and try to get my teammates to help me. And they are coming this way. So I've got Chuck and Ballsack in Spitz, and we've got Charles over here in a P51, and Bishop is kind of heading in that direction. Meanwhile, Firebugs is running his attack, and I've succeeded at least in diverting these two 109s, although there's another one closing in on him. Alright, so Gasman, as usual, is right on my 6, but he's too far away, really, for a gun solution. So what ends up happening is I stick to the plan, and I'm able to get him to the into the trap, basically. So we're going to continue, and here we have Gasman realizing what's going on, and along with Taipan also realizing what's going on. So they're now splitting off of me. So basically the plan worked, and I've brought them into a situation where they're now having to fight pretty much the entire Allied Air Force. Almost every player, well, almost every player in the game, because these are AI, but every online player is right here, and they've just flown right into them. So they've got to face me, Bishop, Chuck, Ballsack, Charles, Stell, and Narragon. No, pronouncing that right. And Sniper is coming in. So they're in trouble now. So a situation where they had a clear advantage is now suddenly a nightmare for them. I decide to go for position back into my kind of high cap position, because I don't have a clear sense of who's who, and I don't want to get into a turn fight with the 109s. I'm leaving that to the Spitfires. I know we have Spitfires down there, and I'm just sort of watching and communicating to try to figure out who's who. At one point, Ballsack gets behind me, and I don't know, I can't tell if he's a bandit or an ally, so I start to turn towards him, and then he starts screaming on the radio, "No, don't shoot, don't shoot." I shot a quick burst, but I didn't really aim at him. I just was kind of judging where my rounds were falling in case I got an ID as a bandit. So this continues. It's kind of a fur ball now. Two guys are on Corbite, who I believe had jumped. But then an interesting thing happened, which actually was kind of pretty funny. I don't know if you can see it, but what happened was Gasman, after I did this merge with Ballsack, I started to look around to try to see, well, where are the bandits, you know? So Taipan was going in the opposite direction while I was confusing Ballsack as an enemy. But then, as I come around, and I'm trying to figure out who's who from my perch up here, you know, because I've got some altitude advantage still, Gasman did something strange, which ended up causing his demise. He somewhere around here, he shot a flare from his plane, and I could see it from where I was, and you know, see, there it is. See this little red square here? That's Gasman's flare. It was a green flare, and from where I was, I could see the flare, so I knew I had, you know, basically that told me, well, that's a German, you know, because the Allied planes don't shoot flares. So I realized, well, I had confirmation of who the bandit was, because there were all these other planes around here, and I don't want to be chasing the wrong one. So I go after, which I didn't know at the time was Gasman, but and I guess he's trying to disengage from the furball. He was in he started to turn towards Carpiquet. So he'll start to bank around to the east as I'm closing in on him. Now it seemed as though he didn't see me for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, I'm coming in on him. Ballsack is on Taipan, and I'm now on Gasman. So I pursue. Hence the P and P51. And he started to straighten out, and I couldn't figure out what he was doing. I knew it wasn't an AI because I saw the flare, and AIs don't shoot flares. So what I now think he was doing was he probably spotted Stell low, climbing with a bandit, and so he was target fixated on Stell. So he wasn't paying attention to me. And I was able to close because I had a lot of energy and a lot of speed, but I was able to line myself up pretty effectively and slow down to the point where I got right on his 6, as close as I possibly could, so that I didn't have any chance of missing or giving him slight damage, and then I simply opened up on him, and it worked out very well. As you can see, I was able to get right on his tail, and if he didn't have third-person view, he probably never would have seen me even if he had looked. On the Wolfpack server, however, they allow third-person view, and you can see my shots were right on target. It's pretty hard to miss from that distance. So I tore him up, and he immediately was set on fire right here, and I could see the flames as he banked off and went inverted. Actually, he didn't go inverted, but he started to go down. And that's all she wrote. So that, if you really do need to communicate with your teammates with the Mustang, because it's not a turn fighter, and it's hard enough just to fight one 109K in the Mustang with a good pilot. 2, it's nearly impossible if they know what they're doing. But if you can be patient and use, basically you extend. And when I say extend in the Mustang, I mean really extend. I mean, I'll sometimes have to run around half the map to get the right distance for me to get an advantage on if I'm defensive with a 109. I'm not sure if I don't remember if I spotted Taipan here when I was breaking off of no, I think at that point I felt pretty lucky, and I decided to head for home. I shot, because I saw these 3 guys, and I wasn't going to mess with them. And look, Taipan is still chasing me. So I see Taipan, that must have been what happened. And I knew Lissay was here and that all the AA was still up. So I decided to bolt for Lissay and let let's say, take care of Taipan, which worked out perfectly. And I quickly ducked into a hangar, and Taipan continued to attack and try to get his revenge. But that didn't happen. So there you have it. That was the 29th of December on the Wolfpack server in the P51 D30, flying with Bishop and Ballsack and Chuck and Firebugs, and shooting down Gasman and Taipan, who are pretty good players. So, I mean, look, I got lucky, but I did stick to the plan, and the plan happened to work.